Chulin Daf Tes, we're starting Chesamud Beis on the bottom 4 lines from the bottom. Omar Ameimar Mishmei Rav Papa Loi Lischoif Inish Kafli Ilui Bisra. You should not drag a flank of beef while it's on top of a different piece of meat. Didoiv Tarba, because the fat on top of the flanks will drip. Doiv is Miloshan Zav, which means to leak, to drip. Ubala Bisra is going to be absorbed in the meat underneath it, and it's going to make it usher because the fat on top of the flanks is chelev asher al haksolim, and it's usher to eat. And therefore, if you drag it and there's a lot of friction, the chelev is going to go into the basar. Says the Gemara, Ihochi ki tritzinami. If so, if it's Toritz, right? They bring that Toritz means milashon shalom, which means that if it's just on a shelf without being dragged, it's just staying calmly on a shelf on its own, it should also be a problem because you have the meat connected to the fat on the flanks itself. If you just have the flanks with the fat still connected to it, it should be a problem that nami do'iv tarba ubala bisur. So too over there, the fat should also leak into the basar. Why specifically if it's 2 pieces of meat? Says the Gemara, no, karma mafsik mitasoy. There's a membrane that separates between the fat that's on top of the flanks and the flank itself. There's a membrane in between, and therefore the chelev is not going to penetrate that membrane into the meat of the flanks. If so, even on top of the fat, also there's a membrane on top of the fat, and therefore even if you have right near the fat another piece of meat, it's still not going to penetrate that because there's also a membrane. So the Gemara, no, since the hand of the butcher already rubbed the fat, therefore the outer membrane is already miftas, it's already broken apart. Rashi says, which when you break apart the bread. So miftas means it's broken apart. The membrane is already broken apart on the outside of the fat, and therefore it's going to leak onto a different piece of meat, but within the same piece of meat, it's not going to leak into the flanks because that membrane in between the fat and the flank itself was never touched by the butcher's hands. The Talmud Chacham needs to learn 3 things. Ksav, Rashi says it means he has to know how to write his name for Edus or for Bezdin, to be a Dayan. Shchita, which means he has to know how to shecht umila and how to circumcise. Rav Chananya bar Shlamya Mishmei Rav Omar, he says Talmud Chacham has to know another 3 things. Av kasher shel tefillin, how to tie tefillin, the shin, the dalad, and the yud, and birkas chasanim, and the blessing that is said under the chuppah. Talmud Chacham has to know that. V'tzitzis, and how to tie tzitzis. V'idach, and the other opinion that doesn't mention these last 3 things. Hani shchicham, those things are common. Everybody knows them. It's not something special that the Talmud Chacham is needed specifically to know them. Taisus brings the famous opinion of Rabbi Eliyahu, who holds that one must tie his tefillin every single day. He must retie the actual knots, the shin, the dal, and the yud every single day. And Taisus brings a proof from here that must be he's wrong, because over here it sounds like it's something that you would have to go ask a rabbi, and it doesn't mean you'll go ask a rabbi every single day. Obviously something that happens only rarely, and Taisus says really, so we don't hold that you have to tie it every single day. Kol tabach, any butcher, that does not know the halachas of shchita, also lechem shchitasa, you're not allowed to eat his slaughtering, ve'lohein. These are the hilchas shchita, shehiyah, drasa, chalada, hagroma, ve'ikur. Shehiyah again means pause, drasa means if you chopped it, chalada means if the knife was concealed, hagroma means it's not you shechted it not in the correct place, ve'ikur means that the simanim, which means the trachea and esophagus, were uprooted while you shechted. Mike Mashmalan says the Gemara, Kulu Tanina. Mike Mashmalan, what does this teach me? All these are said in the Mishnah. Of course he has to know them. The Mishnah says you have to have it right. You have to have done it right. All these things are mentioned in the Mishnah. So what is Shmuel teaching me that a shaykhet needs to know? Needs to know this. It's simple. Of course he has to know. Let's say you have a guy who shechted 2 or 3 times the shochat shaper and he shechted okay. I would think since you already did the 2-3 times okay, in the future, if he shechts again, we can trust that he did it correctly. Kamash Malan. So therefore, Shmuel teaches us no. Even though you have seen him in the past shecht okay, Kevin de Legomar, since he does not know the halachos, zimnin, sometimes the shohi vidoris, sometimes he pauses or he chops vilo yoda and he doesn't know. Okay, just because he happened to have done it correctly doesn't mean that he's going to do correctly in the future, especially if he's ignorant. The shoichet, after he slaughters, he has to check the simanim. The simanim most probably are called simanim because with them you're able to tell if an animal is shechted correctly. If the knife had sliced through both the esophagus and the trachea, or a majority of either of them, then the shechita is okay. And you have to check. So says Shmuel, the shoichet has to check the simanim. The shoichet has to check to make sure that he actually sliced through the whole thing okay. After the shechita. Amar of Yosef Afanan Avitanina, we also learned that Rabbi Shimon Omer, Im Shoha Kedei Bikur, if this is halach and hilchos shehiyah. We said already that if you pause during the shechita, then it disqualifies the shechita. The question is what is the time lapse that disqualifies the amount of pause that you have to that you paused during the shechita in order for it to be considered disqualified? How long can it be? Says the Gemara, Im Shoha Kedei Bikur. It has to be that you waited an amount that you can check. Bikur means you check. What does it mean? It says the Gemara, "My love kedei bikur simanim." Does this not mean kedei bikur simanim that you can check the simanim? So we see already that Rabbi Shimon, the Tana, references this halacha. Why does Shmuel have to tell me that the shoichet has to check the simanim? We already have Rabbi Shimon telling this to us, hinting it to us by telling that shehiyah, the shi'ur, the amount of time that disqualifies if you pause during shechita is kedei bikur, the amount of time that you have to check, right? So you see that the checking is referenced in the Tanaim already. We know about this. Why does Shmuel have to teach it to me? He says, that's not what kedei bikur means. That's not what it means, the amount of time that it takes to check something. Rabbi Yochanan explained it means kedei bikur chacham. When a sheikh comes to town, he has to respectfully take his knives to the local rabbi in order that the rabbi check his knives and make sure it's okay. And out of deference, he has to go and show that he acknowledges the rabbi's authority. So the amount of time it takes to take your knives to the rabbi. In Cain says the Gemara, what do you mean? Then there's no definite time. Sometimes you're further away from the rabbi's house, sometimes you're close to the rabbi's house. So what type of shiur is that? Says the Gemara, El kedei bikur taba chacham. It doesn't mean that you have to travel. There's any time to travel to get to the rabbi's house. It means once you're there and the chacham is checking your knives, the amount of time it takes to check your knife, that's how long the shehiyah. If the shehiyah is that long, then it's pasul. Says the Gemara, Loi badak mai. Let's say the shoichet did not check the shoichet did not check the simanim after he shechted. Is it going to be kosher or not? It says more. Rabbi Eliezer ben Antignus, Mishum Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yanai Omar, treifa. It's considered treif. The asura ba'achila, and you're not allowed to eat it. B'masisa tanva, we learned in a brisa nevela. It's not treifa. It's nevela umatam b'masa, and it's impure. And someone carries it, he becomes impure. So the dispute over here is whether it's considered a treifa. A treifa is not tamei. The treifa usually is an animal that after the shechita is done correctly, you find that there's some ailment which makes it not kosher, because it might die within a year, and therefore it's called a treifa, but it's not tamei. A nevela is an animal that dies on its own, or the shechita was not okay. So the dispute over here, is it considered a treifa, or is it considered a nevela? And the consequential difference is whether or not it's impure. So the Gemara wants to know what is their dispute based on. With Rav Huna, the Gemara says it's an argument based on Rav Huna. Dam Rav Huna, behema b'chayeha, an animal in its lifetime, b'cheskas isur medes, is considered to presumably be not permitted to eat. Rashi says why? Why when an animal's alive is not permitted to eat? Because it's ever min achai, a limb from a live person is not allowed to be eaten, and therefore it has a cheskas isur, a presumed status of prohibition, of being prohibited. So behema b'chaya b'cheskas isur medes, it stands in the presumed status of asur, of isur, achi yivadlecha, until you have a knowledge that tells you b'men nishchata, how it became shechted. Nishchata, and once it was shechted, once you know that it was shechted correctly, harezi b'cheskas heter, it's considered to presumably be mutter, be permitted. Achi yivadlecha b'men nishchata, until you know for a fact that it became treif. So the presumption changes once you know there's a right shechita. Until you know there's a correct shechita done, so we're going to presume that it's aser. Until you know, or once you know there's a good shechita done, so we're going to presume that it's okay. Until you find something that makes the animal treif. So Mar Savar, one of the opinions also, again going back to our dispute, if a shochet did not check the simanim after his shchita, after the shchita he didn't check it, so one holds it's a treifa, and one holds an avela. This is their argument. Marsavar b'cheskas isur kaima. One holds the presumption that we keep, right? Because we don't know if the shchita was good, because you didn't check the simanim, so you don't know if the shchita was done okay, and therefore you have to bring it back to the original presumption with this animal that it was asur, because while it was alive, it was asur. V'hashta mesa, and now it's dead. And since it's dead, it for sure is going to be considered an nevela, because now that it's dead, it has a tumas nevela, and we don't know if shechita was done correctly, and so we transfer the presumed isser to this animal right now too, and it's going to be usher, and it's going to be considered like a dead animal that's usher to eat, and a dead animal that's usher to eat, it's because it's an nevela. Umar savar b'cheskas isur amrina. The other opinion holds no. B'cheskas isur amrina, we say that all we can transfer is the presumed isur. B'cheskas tuma lo yamrinan. There is no presumed impurity on the animal, because while it was alive there was no impurity. Therefore, he holds you can't transfer the presumption of isur from the presumption of isur to a presumption of tuma. In a chanami, we say that it stays usur. And the only way it could stay asur is if the shechita was not correct, it was not done correctly, and if the shechita wasn't done correctly, it's considered a nevela. But you need a chazaka in order to create a din. You need a chazaka to create a din, and therefore, since there was no chazaka regarding the tumah, only regarding the isur, therefore he holds you can only say it has a din like a treifa, just to eat, but it has no impurity. Gufa, Amar Rav Huna. Now the Gemara is going to discuss Rav Huna's statement in its own right. Behema b'chayeha b'cheskas isur imedes achi yivadel chaba men nishrata b'cheskas heter imedes achi yivadel chaba men nitrafa. V'leima, says the Gemara, nishrata hucha. Why does he say that nishrata becomes b'cheskas heter? Why does he have to say it's b'cheskas heter? Why does he say? What does he mean to say that it's presumed to be mutter? It's mutter. Say once it was shechted, it's mutter. Says the Gemara, hakamash malan. He's coming to tell me the afagav disyalid bei reyes. So even though there was a reyes, meaning something suspicious came about here, still it's going to be okay because we go with the presumed heter once we know it was nishchat. Like Rabbi Abba asked Rav Huna above ze'ev, if a wolf came after someone shechted an animal, then a wolf came and took the intestines. Mao, what is going to be the halacha? Notal asks Gemara, if he took it, how lesno, it's not here, what's your problem? What do you mean? Ella nikev b'nei me'ayim mahu. Let's say if the ze'ev came and made a hole in the b'nei me'ayim. Now a hole in the b'nei me'ayim is considered treif. That's one of the things that if you find a hole in the intestines of an animal, then it's considered treif and you're not allowed to eat it. So says the Gemara, Nekev, if the ze'ev made this hole, like a chazilin dehuna kvina, we see that the ze'ev was the wolf was the one who made the hole. So why would it be a problem? Ella, says the Gemara, notlan. If let's say you see that the ze'ev, the wolf, took the bnei ma'ayin, the chazilin brought them back kishenikum. He brought it back when it was with holes in it, right? And obviously we're going to assume that it came from the mouth of the ze'ev, but the question is, are we concerned Shema b'makom nekav nikev? Meaning we didn't have time to check the bnei me'ayim. We didn't have time to check the intestines if the animal had this the holes in the bnei me'ayim while it was alive and whether it was treifa or not. Because right away after we shechted it, the wolf came and grabbed the bnei me'ayim, and then when he returned it, it had holes in it. So the question is, maybe it had holes already and it was treif, and then when the Ze'ev came and bit it, maybe he bit it he didn't make new holes. Those holes were around before, and the wolf bit into the same exact holes, and therefore now you think it's just the wolf who made the holes, but maybe the holes were around before. So do we have to be concerned for the holes that maybe they were around before and really it's treif? The Gemara says, nikav. Are we concerned maybe the Ze'ev made a hole in the place where there was a hole already? We're not concerned. Why? Because, like we said, that once it was shechted, and we know the shechita was done correctly, so then it's going to be presumed to be mutter, and any suffix that we have regarding a tarfus, we're going to say that it's okay because we have a presumption of heter. Asive says the Gemara, if someone sees a bird that makes a hole, he's pecking at a fig, the achbar, or a mouse, a rat, haminakir ba'avatichim. That also that it's pecking, making holes in a watermelon. Shema b'mokom nekev nikav. Then we're concerned that maybe there was a hole previously, even though you actually see the bird or the rat making the hole right now. We assume that maybe there could have been a hole before, and the bird is just pecking at the previous hole, and it's still considered usser. Why is it usser? Because if there was a hole before, where we would be concerned that maybe a poisonous snake came and left some venom in the hole. He penetrated the fig or the watermelon, and he left some venom in there. And from the fact that you see the bird is the one that made the hole, you assume we have to be concerned that maybe the hole was around before and you just don't know about it. Alright, so this is a question. There's a question of what we said before, because you see that we are concerned that maybe the hole was there before. And by us, he said we're not concerned that the wolf made a hole in a place where there already was a hole. He bit down where there was already a hole. Are you comparing Isura L'Sakanta to something that's dangerous? Sakana shiny. We're much more concerned for something that's dangerous and harmful to us, to humans. And therefore, over there we're more stringent, and we are concerned even more, and we say that Shema b'makom nekev nika. Amar lei Rava, says Rava, Maishna suffix Sakanta L'chumra. What's the difference? Suffix sakanta l'chumra. The suffix of sakana is l'chumra, and suffix yisuranam l'chumra. So Rava doesn't want to accept this differentiation between sakana and isur. Really, they should be the same thing. Why? Because sakana is suffix l'chumra and isur suffix l'chumra. So why are you telling me that dafka because it's a sakana we go more l'chumra? Because sakana is more l'chumra. It's not true. Both of them are considered, we're stringent about. Omerle Abaye, says Abaye, V'loi shani ben isur l'sakanta. Are you really telling me that there's no difference between isur and sakana? V'ha'ilu safek tuma b'shus harabim sfeikoi tahor. The halacha is that if in Rishus HaRabim there became a doubt regarding something, whether it's tummy or not, you're not sure if something became impure and it's in a public place, so then we say that it's lekula, it's tahor, it's fine, you're pure. The ilu safek ma'im megulin, but if you are not sure about water that was left uncovered, again, water that was left uncovered, we have the same concern that maybe a snake came and left some venom in the water, and even if it's a suffix, right? You're not sure whether you don't know for sure if a snake came. It's only a doubt whether a snake came, and still we're concerned. So says Abaye, you see that for sakana, for venom, we're much more scared than even isur, because by isur, when it's a doubt in Rishus HaRabim, we say it's tohar, but my magulim we say is asa. Amalei hasam hilchazak mirula. Over there, don't bring me a proof from the halacha that in Rishus HaRabim a suffix tuma is considered tahor. Why? Because over there it's exeris hakasav that halacha Moshe Sinai that we learn from Saita. Over there, to Hilchasa Gmirla, that we learn it from Saita, Ma Saita B'Rishus HaYachid, just like a Saita is B'Rishus HaYachid, Af Tuma B'Rishus HaYachid. A Saita is a woman who we're not sure if she committed adultery, and the Torah says that she's considered Tameh. She's considered Asur to her husband. And we learn out that only by Saita where it's considered like Rishus HaYachid. Why? Because it's always done in private. Someone who commits adultery is done in private, and therefore Saita is considered private. And we don't learn, and we learn from Sota that only in a case where it's private, that's where we say that if there's a doubt as to whether there's Tumah, we go L'chumra. We say you are considered Tameh. But anywhere else, for example, in Rosh Hashanah, somewhere that's public, if you have a suffix, if you have a doubt whether something is impure or not, we go L'kula. We say, no, you're Tahor. And therefore says Abaye, says Rava, don't bring me a proof from Tumah, because Tumah is an exception, because really, of course, we would go L'chumra, and Safek Isser is L'chumra, and it's really going to be the same thing as a Sakana. There's no difference between Sakana and Isser, they're both L'chumra. And the case of by Rosh Hashanah is a specific thing by Tumah, because the Halacha Mashmitzina, which is Exeris Akasa, Rashi says, you can't, it's an exception to the rule, it's not, it doesn't really teach to anywhere else, and therefore really, everywhere else would be l'chumra, and really sakana is equal. Sakana is like Isser, and the exception is Rosh Hashanah regarding impurity. Masav Rav Simi, so Rav Simi asks, sheretz b'fichulda. If you have a dead sheretz, which is tameh, a dead rodent, and if it touches something, it becomes it makes it tameh. But it's b'fichulda, it's in the mouth of a rat. It's a living rat that's dragging a dead rodent. And then this rat is walking on top of loaves shel truma, of truma. Safek noga, safek lo noga. If we're not sure if the rodent in the mouth of the rat actually touched these loaves or not, and made the truma tahar, sfeikoi tahar. So we say it's tahar. V'ilu safek ma'am migulim. However, but if we're not sure if something is ma'am migulim or not, asurin. It's asur. So again, you see that sakana is more chamor than isur. Says the Gemara, Hasanami Hilchas Gemir Lemasaita. Also, we learn that out from Saita. That's also an exception to the regular rule. And the reason why we go to Kul over there is also because we learn it from Saita. Masaita davar sheyesh badas lishal. Just like a woman who's an adulteress we can ask her, right? She's someone who has das, who we can ask her. So too, and avhacha also over here, not davar sheyesh badas lishal. Like a Saita, you have. Okay, just to recap, the Gemara was discussing whether we have to be concerned that there was a hole in the bnei ma'ayin, in the intestines, before the wolf got to it. And the Gemara says, "Do not that it's different. You don't have to be concerned, and it's different from the case of gilui, when a nachash might have gotten to something, that you do have to be concerned, even though you see a bird or a rat pecking at it, you have to be concerned that maybe a venomous snake had gotten to it before and stuck venom into it, and therefore you're not allowed to eat it." And the Beit explains this because the Gemara explains this because sakana, we deal with sakana as more dangerous than isser. We're more machmer, more stringent, because sakana is dangerous. It's harmful for people. Therefore, we're more stringent than actual isser. Rava denied this. He said, "How do you know that? How do you know we're more stringent? Why should we be more stringent? Suffix sakana is l'chumra, and suffix isser is also l'chumra. When in doubt, we always go towards the stringent side, whether it's isser or whether it's sakana. Why would you say one is more dangerous?" The Gemara wanted to bring a raya from a few places to show that sakana is aser, and Rava pushed off the raya by saying that was an exception that we learned from Saita. And Saita that teaches us that Toma versus Sarabim is Tahor. We go lenient over there. That's only by Toma. That's something that's an exception. It's Exeris Akasim, and don't teach me from there. And then Simi asked regarding a sheretz. Also, if a sheretz was in the mouth of a rat, and then we were not sure if it touched the loaves of truma or not, we said also that it's Tahor. Why? Also, we learn from Saita, Rava said we learn from Saita, that's not a proof. We also learn from Saita, this is an exception. Just like Saita is someone you can ask, an adulterer, someone who committed adultery is someone you can ask, who has das, who has a mind that you can ask. So too, the only thing that becomes Sfeika Tomei, like a Saita, is something that you can ask. Someone who has das lishail. And Kikares, the breads that became Tomei, we're not sure if they became Tomei or not, have no das lishail, and therefore we're going to learn from Saita that since these are not like Saita, we say Sfeikoi Tahor. Again, this is going to be an exception to the rule according to Rava. It's a Hilchas Gemirila, it's a Lachim Shabbat, it tells us to learn from Saita. But the standard, of course, is going to be L'chumra. By everything in Suffolk is L'chumra, and therefore Rava maintains his opinion that there's no difference between Sakana and Isser. Amar Rashi says, Toshima, Tzluchis she'nicha megula, if you left a bowl filled with water, the water you want to take to use as para aduma water, you want to be mitaher, someone who's tamei mace, so you take the red heifer and you burn it, and you take the ashes and you mix it with this water, and then you sprinkle the water on someone and it becomes pure. So now you have this bowl of water, tzluchis she'nicha megula, you left it uncovered, ubom tza mechusa, and then you found it covered up. So Tmeya, we have to be concerned that maybe a person who is impure touched the water, since you left it uncovered and you found it covered, so therefore it's Tamei Shani Omer, because I say maybe Adam Tamei Nichnas L'Sham, a impure person came into the room, V'chisa, and he covered it, and therefore he might have touched it, and therefore the water is disqualified because it's considered Tamei. We have to be concerned that maybe it's Tamei. However, if you left it covered, Ubom Tzanagula, and you found it uncovered, if it could be that a rat came into the room and drank from the bowl of water, or a snake, also if we're concerned that a snake might have drunk from it, or if on this tzluchis that was uncovered, dew at night, dew fell into it, psula, it's puzzle. It's puzzle, but it's not tamei. Why is it puzzle? It's puzzle for mechatas because there's a din. The pasuk says by mechatas mayim chayim el keli, has to come straight from a mayim into a kli. It can't go from the kli back into the mouth of an animal, and then back from the mouth of the animal into the kli. So these animals, a chulda, and according to Regalil, also a nachash, they don't just swallow water. We're concerned with these animals specifically that the way they drink is they drink and then they spit back into the bowl. And since they spit back into the bowl, so now it was hurak mikli al kli, which means that the mayim for the mechatos was put from the spring into the kli, and then it went to the mouth of the chulda or the nachash, and then went back into the bowl, and that's not okay because it has to be straight only one time from the spring into the kli, and it's not allowed to leave the kli into another kli and then come back again. It doesn't work that way. It has to be only it has to stay in the kli once it gets into it. Or Rashi brings a different shot that it's considered naisa by malacha. Nothing is allowed to be done with this water if you want to use it for mechata. So now that someone drank from it, now that a chulda drank from it and put it back, so it's like considered malacha was done with it, or it's considered she'uvim. Either way, this water is disqualified if we're concerned that a chulda or a nachash drank from it because they might have spit back water inside, or the case of the dew, if dew fell on it at night, so it's a problem because the dew is not, you need natural water from a spring and not from dew, which is like rainwater. The Amr Ibn Levi says, Matam, how come we don't say that it's tamei? Again, we said it's puzzle. If you left it covered and then you found that it's uncovered, you're concerned that maybe a chulda or a nachash came and it's puzzle. We explained why it's puzzle. How come it's not tamei? How come we're not concerned that maybe a person came and uncovered it and might have touched it? So Matam says Rabbi Eliyahu Raful, because it is the way of a sheretz, of a rodent who comes to uncover something. Ve'ein darkan lechasos, and it's not his. It's not normal. A sheretz can't come and cover up something, right? And therefore, in the case where it was already covered up and it became uncovered, so then we could assume, we have the right to assume that it was uncovered by a sheretz, it was uncovered by a nachash, and not by a person who's impure, because the majority of cases would be that it's an animal that uncovered it. However, in the case where it was uncovered and then it was covered, there's no way that an animal can cover up a pot. That's not something that we're allowed to rely on, and therefore we must say it's a person. And if it's a person, so we're concerned that maybe it was an impure person. So either way, we see here that you're allowed to go lekula when it comes to tumah, because the reason why we're saying it's not tameh is because we're assuming that we're assuming towards the lenient option that a person that was impure did not come and cover up and uncover the bowl of mayim chayim. Rather, it was an animal, and that is a tliya. That is something that we're saying is lekula. However, when you have a doubt about safek mayim megulim, we go lechumra. So you see, they're asur and they're prohibited to be in shma mina chamiras kanta misura. We see from here that chamiras kanta misura, that sakanta, which means something that's harmful and dangerous to the health of a person, is more chamur, is more, we deal with it in a more stringent fashion than isur v'heter. Shma mina, and we see from, and the Gemara says we learn from here, and we do see that sakana is more chamur. Nan hasam. We learned over there, Gimel Mashkin Asur Mishum Gilui, 3 drinks, 3 liquids are also because of Gilui, meaning if they were uncovered and there's a chashash that maybe a snake came and drank from it. Mayim, water, v'yayin, and wine, v'chal v'mil, kama yishu v'yihiyu asur, and how long do they have to be there, and we have to be concerned that it may become asar kadeshi yetze harachash mimakam karav, when the snake might come. When the snake might come, rachash means like slithering. It means Rashi says in lashon sheretz. Either way, when it means that the snake might have come mimakam karav, from a close place, the yishte. Meaning, if it was uncovered and there was a time lapse that a nachash could have come and drunk, then it's a problem. The kama makom karav. What does it mean makom karav? Amar Rabbi Yehuda kadesh yetze mitachas oizen kli v'yishte. That the amount of time when he might come from under the handle of the kli and drink. That's the amount of time. Meaning, if you left the kli for that amount of time, then you already have to be concerned that nachash might have drank from it. And the Gemara says, "What do you mean hakachazile?" If that's only the amount, if only that amount of time passed, so then you actually see, because you said the amount of time that a snake comes from under the handle of the kli and drinks, and then if you look right back and it's not there, so then the snake is not there, because if you waited that amount of time and the snake came, then you should still see it because the snake is still there. The Gemara says, yeah, you're right. Meaning you have to wait the amount of time. If you waited the amount of time that it takes for a snake to leave from under the handle of the kli and then drink and then go back to his hole, then you have to be concerned. But anything less than that, then you don't have to be concerned, because if there's a snake, then you would catch him at it. Ad kan chulin daf tes.